Hello guys, this is Biopsych, and as you can see on the title of this video, we are going to be talking about how sex is overrated. And of course, as usual, I am doing this without a script or anything along those lines. By the way, if you don't know me and you just know me by my channel, I'm guessing that you might be a bit surprised by this because you might have seen that I make videos about love dolls and know that I have at least a couple. In fact, I have actually three of them, to be exact. But enough about that, of course. Now, of course, why would I say something like that, right? It's kind of weird, right? That I would say something like that. Now, if you actually knew me a bit more personally, you probably won't be so surprised by this video, actually, to be frank. In fact, this is something that I actually try to teach, especially a lot of younger generation people who are, they have no experience with sex, and they have been shown an image of sex that is a little off, to say the least, and isn't very realistic or inappropriate, however you want to put it. Now, I will, of course, say this about sex. It's a fun experience. It is pleasurable. You know, it's also kind of a way that you can express yourself with your lover or friend or whatever you want to call them. Butt buddy, I don't care what you want to call them. And it's fun to talk about. It's a fun thing to talk about and talk shit with your friends about some of the women around you. Like, hey, she has a nice huge rack. She has a nice booty. Those things are fun to talk about. I don't want to seem like a person that isn't fun to be with, because I'll talk shit with you about sex. But the problem with talking shit too much, though, is that especially for the younger generation, even for myself when I was younger, is just the simple fact that this world, even when I was a younger kid, younger teenager, is just so oversexed. I mean, even when I was younger, like, I don't know, our society is kind of become oversexed to the point where it's kind of a problem. Hate to say it, but when I was younger, it took me about, I don't know, until I was like maybe about 10 years old until I kind of realized, I'd say about about 9 to 10 years old, I kind of realized, I was starting to kind of learn about sex basically. And the reasons why would always look at the women and like I would, and why I would have crushes on women and stuff, it all started kind of coming together, when I was about that age. But these days, for the average kid nowadays, it all kind of comes together about the age 6 or 7 years old, which, with the way that computers are nowadays. I mean, when I was a kid, you had to have a fucking fake ID to get into the store. They didn't. I mean, popularity of the internet didn't really get a head start until about 1995, 1996. And even then, when I was younger in the late 90s, like, I hardly even then knew anything about the internet, let alone using a computer. Kind of like I do now. I mean, I still kind of don't need to learn more about computers, but I think you get my point. You know what I mean? And what I'm trying to get at is, you know, especially ever since I started, working for an ad company that makes ads, like physical ads, to say the least. We actually make them. But anyway, whoop, dropped a pencil or pen. And the reason why a lot of people these days, for some reason, especially younger generations, seem to think that sex is the best thing it would have to be advertisement. It is because advertisement, as always, tries to sell you shit, and they will tell you anything. They will tell you anything in their ability to get you to buy their shit. And how part of how they do that is they sell sex. And of course, in order to sell sex, they have to act like sex is the best thing ever. And of course, when I officially lost my virginity, or even back when I was having enough sexual contact with women, sometime before my 20s, I was kind of realizing that wasn't really the case, even though it was obviously at least a fun thing to do, and I would want to do again. And I would even recommend still people putting it on their list of things to do before they die. It just seriously wasn't what I was expecting. you know, Especially right after when I was having enough contact with women and I officially lost my virginity, I just my first thought was, that was it. And then I just thought, well, what do I do now? Because, when you're growing up, you're taught that sex is the best thing ever, right? By your friends and a lot of people that you know, right? And then, of course, your second thought after you realize that sex isn't the best thing ever is, what do I do now? Since I've done the best thing ever, the best experience that there is, what else is there? And yeah. And another thing that I am, of course, going to say to younger generations is basically what I put in the description below of this video is just don't put sex on a pedestal, all right? In fact, I could even say that there's several things that I would rather do sometimes than have sex. Like sometimes I would actually rather go to sleep than have sex, to be honest. And there are some days where, to be frank, instead of dealing with some lady that I don't really like for sex, I would rather play a video game, to be frank. Sometimes I would actually get more pleasure out of my day and satisfaction out of playing a video game than actually having sex sometimes, or lots of times, in fact. I mean, there's several things that are actually kind of better when you really think about it. And like I said, it's still a fun thing. I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea about me, like I'm not a fun person to talk to about sex. Because it's just like I said, I'll talk shit with you about sex. I really don't care about that. If we're just going back to back joking around, I don't care about that. That's just fine. You guys can keep that. I don't care. In fact, I'll do it with you. I don't care. But yeah, listen. I mean, for real, just calm down on the sex. Just calm down. Calm down. And you don't have to be lying about your sex life either. Because let me tell you, I'd say about at least 70 to 80% of men are lying about their sex lives. Possibly even more than that, in fact. I mean, I would say at least 90%. I mean, I'm at least not one of those people. In fact, my sex life has been kind of weird in some areas, but shit just happens. And again, another reason why I realized that, it isn't really the best thing, especially when it comes to casual sex sometimes, is because, you're dealing with people constantly that don't like you, you don't like them, they aren't your friends. In fact, sometimes these people that are potentially going to have sex with aren't even nice to you sometimes. I've actually noticed when I've talked to some women and talked to them at the bar sometimes, actually. Like sometimes they actually aren't even nice to you, even though it's like they're actually expecting to have sex with you. It's like, if you aren't even going to be nice to me and, Like, then what's the point? If we can't even have fun before we have sex, if you're just going to be a complete bitch to me, I mean, then the magic is just going to go away, and then I'm not going to feel like having sex with you anymore. I mean, that's with me. I mean, maybe you like a bitchy woman, but I'm just saying, or a bitchy person who, I mean, whatever you're into. But anyway, because your sex life is when it comes down, yeah, when it comes down to it, your sex life is seriously nobody's business, which I think is silly. The reason I realized over time, growing up, is it's kind of silly to just lie completely about your sex life. Like it seriously is just silly. Just be honest. Be yourself. But, society will always try to pressure us. I understand. You have to lie to please everybody, even if everybody in the party is actually lying about their sex lives. You have to lie yourself too sometimes. I get it. It used to be the same way, but nowadays I'm kind of a more kiss my ass attitude. So yeah, I seriously don't care anymore. At least, I'm more of a kiss my ass attitude towards people like that. People that you can't be honest around. It doesn't exactly work. But and another thing I that was also a bit disappointing with sex. I remember like drunken sex was a lot less dissatisfying than I thought it was going to be. In fact, it's possibly the least satisfying way to have sex like ever. Don't do it. It's you likely aren't going to have a fun time because if if the person you're intending to have sex with is seriously so drunk that they're just going to have sex with you, they're more than likely just going to pass out while you're having sex with them. And then that'll just be rape from there. I mean, even to begin with, it's rape, but I think you get my point. Which I have seen happen, by the way, a couple of times when I used to party. But, partying was kind of overrated too, by the way, getting drunk. There, there are a couple of times I almost felt like I was going to die. And I probably was dying a couple of times from the amount of alcohol that I was ingesting. And yeah, like I said, yeah, the whole getting drunk and having sex thing, it just isn't really as fun as you think it would be. Which is why I stopped doing that, to say the least. It's not fun. At least not that fun. I would say at best it's momentarily fun. When you get really drunk and then you think you're having so much fun, and you wake up in the morning and you feel like complete shit. And then you wake up next to some stranger that you don't even know, and then it just gets awkward. But anyway. Although thankfully the drunken sex never happened to me. I just know from seeing other people do it that it just didn't seem very fun to me. Because seriously, guys, these women tend to pass out if they seriously are that drunk. Anyway. Is there anything else I have to say about the subject? Like I said, I don't have just negative things to say about the sex subject. I'm just telling you why I've kind of gone to the point that I've gotten to. Because, if you want to go out and have sex, go out and have sex, have fun with it. But, all I'm trying to say is just be realistic about it. And if you have to please your friends, to kind of get by sometimes, then do so. But, just be realistic about it. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't put sex on a pedestal because there are actually more important things. Even though sex is generally important, so I mean, it's the reason why we're here, but, just be realistic about it. Besides, sex and pornography and stuff like that is pretty unrealistic. Oh my God, it's so much different. Anyway, with that being said, I'll see you guys later. next video. Bye.